Committee of the whole meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Jeff Renahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Jessica Lopez, 3rd Ward.
Michael Safone, 4th Ward.
Matthew Wolliver, 5th Ward.
Ann Shushin, 6th Ward.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, Attorney for the Town.
John Baisley, Town Supervisor. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. Tonight's our committee of the whole meeting. It's the discussions that we're going to have, and we have 2 presentations up for discussion tonight. One's a presentation from 1 Dutchess Avenue. The second presentation will be a project at Rivercrest. I'd like to have Dutchess Avenue come up to present. Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. My name is Finn O'Neill, and I'm with the O'Neill Group Dutton. I have with me Jessica Gordonier, our asset manager.
A little closer.
Sure. I have with me Jessica Gordonier, our asset manager, and Keith Schofield from LMV, our project architects. So, many of the members probably are familiar with the project, some are not. It's right down on the waterfront, 1 Dutchess Avenue. We've already commenced the construction on the city side. The overall piece was 15 acres. I want to thank any of the members of the board, including the supervisors, that have taken a trip down there to take a look at what we're doing. I hope that it meets your expectations. We are constructing currently 139 units. With the amenity area and the city side. The town side, as you probably all are familiar, it's proposed for 84 units with the Greenway Trail. We undertook a pretty extensive cleanup on the property under DEC supervision, which has been completed. Back in 2014, the main site was completed. Then the 2 individual parcels which we purchased from Office of General Services, New York State. We own those 2 pieces that are creating the Greenway Trail there. We offered along the way to the city and to the town to clean those up, create the Greenway Trail, and then convey them to both municipalities. The city went ahead and accepted that offer. We then had a resolution basically approved by the town, which a little later on was rescinded. However, we are proposing that we create, at our expense, that Greenway Trail. Keith will speak on the project itself. We came to a point back at the end of 2016 where the WHOD district, which was kind of created for this project, was what we wanted. We wanted our overlay adopted there. Unfortunately, the board had some issues there and rejected the project at that point in time. With those rejections, we went back to the drawing board, and now we have a plan that I think satisfies all of those concerns that the board members at that time had raised. I think this is a good project for the town of Poughkeepsie. I think it's a great project in general for Dutchess County, both the city and town. Jessica will speak to the interest we've received to date and the subscribers that we have there that are committed to moving in. And I'll be happy to answer questions after both Jessica and Keith enlighten you a little more to what the project's all about. Thank you.
What we'd like to do is let them speak, and then we'll let any of the board members ask questions. Then we'll go and we'll close our discussion. We'll discuss director of development over the next couple of days, what everybody's conclusion was.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Gordonier, and I am the property asset manager down at One Duchess. And I'm here to discuss the important points and benefits, demographics, and the community amenities that One Duchess will offer. I probably have, obviously, the most experience and knowledge. I've been down there for a little over a year now. I've been familiar with the project and all of the potential tenants that have come to see the project. The property is providing upscale market rate waterfront housing designed for young professionals and empty nesters. The developer is installing a public greenway trail, creating open recreation area for both public and resident use, in which the city of Poughkeepsie has agreed to maintain both city and town portions. Therefore, there will be no expense to the town for installation or future maintenance of the greenway trail. The development will provide revenue for the town and Fairview Fire District with a minimum of services needed, as City of Poughkeepsie are first responders to that property. We'll create permanent jobs, including administrative, maintenance, repair, movers, retail, hospitality, and commercial vendors. Currently, 103 potential tenants are on my waiting list. Out of the 103, 32 have pre-leases and hold deposits down. With the hold deposits, 75% are empty nesters. They're looking to downsize and stay within the Hudson Valley, and they're really, really excited about living on the waterfront in Poughkeepsie. 25% of those are young professionals commuting to Westchester and Manhattan, and they're really excited about the 5-minute walk to the train station. The community amenity areas will be one community with resort-style outdoor and indoor amenities, accessible to all residents of One Duchess in both city and town. Outdoor amenity areas, one large heated pool, wading pool and jacuzzi, fire pit, 4 outdoor kitchens, multiple rooftop lounges, and a dog park. The indoor clubhouse with ample lounge areas, pool table, rooftop lounge, wet bar, and business center equipped with computer workstations. Fitness center, a yoga studio, sauna, steam room, theater room, library, and game room. There will be a community room with accessible rooftop lounge designated for each building in the complex. I do have a slideshow, if I can present that. It's under a minute.
Just while Jessica's doing that too, I know the board or some of the board members had raised the concern back some time ago about, even though, we feel a little bit that might be unfair, but I just wanted to make a point of it. Even though we're providing the Greenway Trail, I know that the town has rec fees, and at this point, rather than make an issue out of that, we would certainly consider paying those rec fees.
I apologize. It was my first time here at the town, so I didn't know the hookups.
You can't use that excuse twice.
What? Okay, once. Thank you. They're really clear.
Grab that light.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Keith, I guess at this point, if you just want to enlighten the board as to what you've come up with here and take them through any questions they might have.
Okay, what I have before you is a revised site plan that basically addresses the comments that have been made by both the town and the planning board. And so, we have a mixed-use project for this. We have at the lower area here a 4,000 square foot commercial space. And we have 2 residential buildings, multifamily, 4 stories in height. This was done to kind of create more of an open feel for the site versus the density of multiple buildings lining the streets that were in the previous proposal. So with that, we have a better open space appeal and less building density. We have more space now for amenities. So anything I have here highlighted as a yellow, I have open space that's common for both the residential building, plus they each have their own rooftop access for viewing out for the Hudson. On the commercial space, we also have rooftop access that will allow for viewing of the Hudson. And then we have also the Greenway Trail, which will be part of the amenities areas. The multifamily buildings, they consist of 42 units per building. There are 28 one-bedroom, 28 two-bedroom. It creates 56 units per building. We have allocated from that, based on the parking calculation of 1.25 per unit, we have 156 total parking spaces. So that's 140 come from the residential and 16 from the commercial, which are 4 spaces per 1,000. We have addressed, as far as the driving aisles and pathways that circulate through the site for larger vehicles, we've made sure that the increase is a 26-foot aisle. It allows for turning radiuses for the larger vehicles and an aerial ladder truck from Fairview, which is their largest truck at the moment. And also, we have addressed potential areas for snow storage. And that could be along here also, and extra snow storage, which would be the Greenway Trail. If you have any questions from there, I can address that.
Okay, so these are all going to be single floor then apartments? Because before you had where it was like 2 floors and then one above, and you also had parking garages built in. So I take it the parking garages are gone, and these are all single floor apartments?
Correct. They're all single floor flats, and all the parking is what you see on grade.
Okay. And how far above, I guess, is it the level of the Hudson are you? Because the day we were there, it was incredibly wet, and the river was very high. So how far off are you before you're actually going to see the Hudson coming up and entering into your roadways and whatnot?
With the brownfield remediation, the floodplain had been raised up so that, once you get to this point here, you are beyond, is it the 100-year?
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
4 feet above the 100-year.
4 feet above the 100.
As we go back towards the eastern,
Inches to the north
border.
or the east, the slope goes up.
I believe the eastern portion is about 11 feet above the 100-year.
Okay.
Anything else, Matt?
None for me. Right now.
Mike?
Nothing right now.
And unlike before, these are elevated buildings as well. So before we had stairwells, now they're elevated.
Excuse me, what do you mean by elevated?
Elevated, sorry. Bill.
Elevator.
Each one has an elevator in it, sorry.
Okay, Jessica?
No questions.
Bill?
I forgot your name, Mr.
Finn O'Neill.
You're Finbar.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you go through, or did you have the staff go through the original resolution passed by this board back in 2016?
Yes, we did.
And did you meet every single thing that was mentioned in that resolution?
I believe we did, and maybe then some, but yes,
You said your density is now 84 units,
correct.
and you've changed the width of the road from 20?
I'll have to have Keith answer those questions.
I believe it was a variation between 22 and 24 at the time, and now we're up to 26.
So all the roadways will be 26
Correct.
wide?
Even the aisles, in parking aisles also.
Okay. And you've put in on-site recreational activities or space?
Yes. That would be this location for the outdoor, for the resident, this space. The commercial area will have the benefit of not only the rooftop, but also some outdoor space here.
So the restaurant will be inside, or the offices or barber shop or whatever will be inside the building? And then there's roof-type access on the commercial building?
Correct.
Okay. And you've increased the parking spaces by how many?
We are at 156.
Okay, I have no further questions at this time.
Bill, you know, the other thing too is if you extend an invitation to come down to the site, it gives
I
you a
was
better
there.
feel for things if you come down. Sometimes you can get a good feel for.
I went down. Okay.
Just, do you know what the commercial business occupancy is going to be yet, or you don't know that yet?
We don't know that yet for either the city or the town side. We envisage in the city side at least one restaurant, and on the town side, we have expectations of a restaurant and possibly a spa.
Okay. And with the, because I'm just curious about with the occupancy load, is there going to be adequate parking then we feel for that commercial site?
Right now, for the commercial site is based on 4 spaces per 1,000. So we're kind of just going by what the current town code is requiring.
Okay, but if it turns into a public assembly, that could be an issue too. Meaning a restaurant or something.
I'd have to see what the actual calculation or breakdown is for that.
Okay. Fine.
Anything else? I got nothing to add to it. I want to thank you guys. I'll go over with Mike. To me, it looks like a lot of the changes are there. But once the board really looks at it, we'll get their comments. If they have any other comments, we'll sit down with Mike and we'll get back to you on everything there. Thanks for bringing it back.
Yeah, are we going to open the floor for any public opinion?
We don't usually.
Okay,
Yeah, at the end, the public will have a comment
okay.
when we're done with our presentations. And then we can add those comments if you guys want to stay and listen to that.
Just the other thing too is, in being, you know, respectful of our neighbors, we've talked to them on both sides of us, and I think someone is here tonight to even affirm what I might say, they're supportive of the project at the Hudson River Rowan Association. So we want to respect everyone and their needs and requests and what we're looking to do here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Our next discussion will be on project at Rivercrest.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Kelly Leibolt with KRC Planning. I'm here tonight just to talk to you about a potential rezone application for a project that is located on Rivercrest. This is in Mr. Woolover's ward, and we have discussed this project with the town. It's a 3.96 acre parcel, and it's sort of hidden because I think a lot of people don't necessarily go down this road, but it's just up from the Pirate Canoe Club. I think most of the people know that road as the access to the Pirate Canoe. It's a small parcel on the right, on the north side as you go down the road. The project is zoned R4A, which is sort of a kind of a weird zone for that district, or that area, but it is zoned R4A, which is just a single-family house. The original plan that we had for this property was to petition this town to rezone the property as RM for multifamily residential. And it's not unlike the apartment complex that is on the opposite side of the street, and then traverses down south as you go behind Price Chopper. As you know, there's many apartments in the back there. But we did meet with the town. We met with the supervisor and with Mr. Woolover. We heard some of the concerns that they had about that proposal, and went back to the drawing board to find out maybe something else that we could use the property for. The owner has a landscaping maintenance business and is now, we've worked with him on developing the site for a contractor's yard. And so this would require a rezone to the industrial, the IH district, which is directly across the street from this particular property.
Is it working?
So on this particular map, Route 9 is over here, goes in a north-south direction, and then Rivercrest brings you all the way down to the project area. I don't know if that's working. IH is a zoning district that we are proposing to rezone this small parcel to, and the IH district is directly across the street, and that's the old, as many of us older people know, that's the IBM North 100. That's what everyone calls it. So it isn't unlike some of the other properties in the area. The property to the north of this is owned by Young Morse. I think most of the people know that area.
What's that zoned? The Young Morris part?
Is R4A also.
R4A?
So the contractor's yard is a specially permitted use in the IH zoning district. We're proposing a small building. It would be 70 by 100 to store equipment. There would be a small area that would be paved just to access the building, and then the balance of the site would be some sort of a porous material so that we could store landscaping, trees, mulch, soil, and so forth that's used for the business. The site slopes from 74 down to 30, so it's a pretty steep slope, but when you get down to the westerly side of it, it flattens out, and so we're hoping to place a building into the hill and kind of use some of the grades to our advantage there, so it would be a one-story building versus the 4-story building that we were originally proposing. Access into the site, obviously, off of Rivercrest, and then a small parking area just to be able to get in and out with vehicles. We would, of course, work with the planning board if the town board was receptive to this to try to work on some of the screening and so forth in that area and leave some of the vegetation in the front or add additional screening in the front of the property, if the planning board saw it fit. The process in the town, as I'm sure you know, is a little bit back and forth like a tennis match with the town board and the planning board. So the process is the applicants come to the town board to petition for a rezone, and the town board reviews the application. Assuming that you're favorable to that, you refer the application over to the planning board. The planning board generally in this town performs the seeker review. Once the seeker review is completed, then it enables the town board to actually proceed with the rezone. So it's back to the town board and then back to the planning board for site plan. So it's a bit of a back and a forth. So this is the start of that rather lengthy process, is to just seek your concerns and any questions that you might have so that we can take that next step and present you with a full application showing the project and the building and so forth. And then assuming that's favorable, move over to the planning board.
Ian, you got any questions? Matt?
I think it's a much better idea than the previous one. It'll be a lot less disruptive to the area. We'll have to chat about a lot of details and such, but
Okay.
I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, we talked about it. It seems fine.
Just,
No.
Bill? Jeff? No. Kelly, thanks, and the same as the last one, we'll discuss it internally, and we'll have Mike or I will get back to you on what we think the right direction is.
Very well. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Next on our list, committee reports. Finance,
Nothing to report.
advisory.
So mine, right?
Yep.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we had a meeting yesterday. Just there were some concerns over the vacant stores over here at Kmart, the old ShopRite area, and what they're gonna do about it to protect it. And the 3 fire departments also discussed the fire safety concerns throughout the 3 districts. And there was some discussion about possibly looking into a third-party inspection tracking company to do some of the inspections in the town. So
To physically do some of the inspections?
they're the ones that track the inspection of it.
Tracking.
They'll send out all the notices that will be on the town's letterhead.
Right.
And they make sure that all the sprinklers are inspected, the hood suppression systems are inspected, all that, and the paperwork comes back.
And sit with Charlie to make sure there's an accounting piece on that.
Okay.
We've been working with the building department on accounting.
It's just the early stages.
Yeah.
I sat through a webinar
Yeah.
on what they have to offer, and then I turned it really back over to Lenny to look at and bring back to his department.
Yeah, have either Lenny or yourself maybe give that to Charlie so he can look at it to see if it's something that interfaces with what he's trying to do.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
Government operations,
Nothing to report.
land use and planning,
Nothing to report.
personnel,
Nothing.
recreation.
Recreation, yes. Okay, well, I'm happy to report that the capital improvement projects are ongoing. And before the summer hits, there's plans to have 6 of the parks are going to have their basketball posts replaced. And one of the parks will also have their post plus their court replaced. So that's going to be in the bidded out shortly here and completed before the summer hits. And then the currently ongoing planning for the summer camp. They're hoping to do 7 weeks of summer camp, which is a week more than we previously have done. And we're lining up using the Speck and Kill elementary schools for the rainy days. So when it rains, there's going to be a place to take the kids. And currently, they're looking for interviewing for staff and looking for staff. So if you know anybody 16 years or older who's interested in working for the summer camp, send them to the rec department. And also, we're looking for 15-year-olds to work as counselors in training, and they don't pay for these positions, but it's a good volunteer thing for the kids to do during the summer.
And we couldn't get the school for the whole program?
Well, right now, getting our feet wet and started, they decided, the problem is if we use the elementary schools for the whole program, we'd really have to downsize the camp. Because the number of the number of campers we'd be allowed to have would be significantly less than what we can host in the park.
No, we couldn't
So
get.
for the first year, this is what they're going to try.
We couldn't get the high school at all?
I don't think they're offering us the high school, no.
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 The high school, if I remember correctly, was going to be having some work done to it this summer. So for this summer, it was not an option this coming summer.
And they were really only offering us the 2 elementary schools, and I don't think either one of them either has air conditioning. I think it's, the Todd, the middle school's the one with the air conditioning.
This is a good start. I mean, worry about
This
the rainy days, we have a heat wave or something. Tom's got a very good communication system with the residents. They're going to these camps to be able to get the youth to come to that spot, so we should have a pretty good start. At one point, we had an inside and outside, so we may be able to grow back into that.
Yeah.
And how would we get, you would know the weather? I mean, obviously, if a storm comes on immediately, you're not taking them by bus or anything, right? If the weather's planned, you know it's going to be
The
bad
weather plan, and
you
then
would
they'll
just drop your kids
drop
off there
at
instead.
the
Okay.
school instead, yeah. And it'll be, I'm sure everybody's got texting and whatnot that they keep in touch with the parents. Okay, and then for this, we're also offering this winter concerts, and they're going to be held at the Senior Center. The next one is February 9th. It's Cloud 9 is going to be playing. It's from 6:30 to 8:30 at night, and they're open to the public and free. So we're planning to have another one in March, but the next one is February 9th. And then we're.
Perfect weather, that time of year to get out. You want someone to go see your neighbors. It's a Saturday night, right?
It's a Saturday night, that's right. And then they're starting to book the summer bands for the summer concerts. And then in the senior center, we're having a Valentine's Day party. It's going to be a lunch at 11 a.m. on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And if you'd like to attend, reservations are online. So all reservations are being done online now, and it opens up a month ahead to make your reservation. And also they're running another program. It's once a month they're having Coffee with a Cop. So that's from 10 a.m. till noon, and the next one's January 24th, and then there's going to be another one February 27th after that.
Yeah, sounds good.
They started, it's going over very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's everything.
Mr. Carlos?
Infrastructure. We've spoken about the drainage issue. We've talked about it. Bringing to the infrastructure committee next week the 3 draft plans for the study, 3 separate sections, picked only because they seem to be the most immediate. After infrastructure's done with that, the next thing would be is to file for RFPs on doing those studies. So before I come back before the board with that, I want to be able to say, these are the studies, this is what we got from the RFPs for those studies, because there's a cost factor involved. It makes no sense to go through much more planning beyond that till we know if we're going to do it and how much it's going to cost. So the desire then is to come back, and I'll give you a report, our next committee of the whole, on the discussion from infrastructure. And if that goes well, then we'll come back with the results of the RFP. We'll do an RFP for each one of the studies. Okay? Nothing else to report.
As far as my report goes, we held a monthly construction progress report, which we go over projects that are currently going on in the town, and we're cleaning up some of the temp COs that some of these projects that are done. We're waiting for their, final plans to come in so we can write some of those off. We've been in discussion with Charter Communications because Charter is the one cable company that does not air our community channel. So we're working on them to get that up and running amongst a few other cable issues. We held an economic development meeting here at Town Hall with Bill Carlos and Mark Newton in relation to water-related issues with the county and the line that runs the county down the Global Foundries and some of the things the county is looking to do down there. We've been weekly meetings with Central Hudson on their gas project that they're doing now, cleaning up the coal tar from the Hudson River. So myself and Bill Carlos has also been on those meetings on Wednesday morning on the phone to follow closely what's going on. They had a small mishap in the beginning, and we're monitoring very closely because the intake is within 3,000 feet of our water intake. So we've been monitoring that closely, and we've got a very good phone tree emergency line, and we made some extra precautions at the plant to make sure nothing goes wrong, or if something does go wrong, we can react immediately. We had a meeting with the receiver of taxes. She's changing some of the software in her office to make sure it's a smooth changeover during the tax season. We were discussing a couple of different construction projects, possibly on Route 44. We went down the other day with Mike Welty, and we visited the Dutton site in that area. We had a meeting the other day here with Europa McGovern and Michelle Gluck to discuss the Climate Smart Community Pledge and what our next steps are, what we should be doing, and how we should be doing it, because it's new to, I think, myself and Mike and a lot of the people. And Susan Heck, who's on the CAC, came in, and she's working along with us to help get this along, and she really has a desire to work with this. We held a department head meeting this month to discuss how the town work better and things that we need to change inside Town Hall. We have a lot of new staff. We have a lot of very energetic staff, which wants to make some changes. They're very computer literate, and they really want to do some things, so we're working with them to get some things up and running there. We had a meeting with BOCES and Comptroller's office the other day to get some of the different classes in BOCES to come here as interns. We discussed their culinary, working with our senior center. We discussed their media class, working in video in these movies and making some videos up and working with that, as long as also possibly working over in the auto center. We're working on, hopefully we'll get that up and running. We met this morning with a MS4 group out in Dutchess Farm Center there in relation to MS4 and the possible changes that are coming from the DEC, because the next set of rules may be coming out. And last night, we had a joint water board meeting, and we're going over that and some possible changes that we may be making to that plant to make the water even better than it was. That's all I got. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for public comment on anything.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's the time, anybody like to comment on anything related to the town at all?
Hello there. My name is Darylyn Brennan, and I'm a resident of the town of Poughkeepsie. And I wanted to comment on the Dutton project, and I'd like to comment that when I look at what we are now receiving in tax revenue on that property, it is about $48,5145. And this is from the Poughkeepsie Journal dated 1/20/2017. The estimated cost of the total project is $73 million, and I basically calculated what 3 acres of that would be is about $20 million. So I'm assuming that would be a reasonable valuation upon completion. So if I take the current tax rate they're using for the 4,000 and just multiply that times the $20 million valuation, I get $462,000 in tax revenue. Given the fact that the town of Poughkeepsie is losing a lot of retail and the fact that we are capped by the county as far as how much tax revenue comes back from sales tax, and we are also constrained with the land that is developable in the town of Poughkeepsie. These high-density projects make sense to me, and I think it's a way to create reoccurring tax revenue. When I look at our property tax collection, we continue to get increases. Okay, maybe they're not a lot, but I also look at the tax revenue that we are collecting, and it's going down the last couple of years, not by a lot, but the two things seem to be on a collision course. So I really think for the good of our community and to take some of the burden off the residents who reside here, that we really need to look at these properties. And it's just crazy that we don't look at these high-density properties. We're not taxing our schools. It's a Hyde Park school, and I would assume that Hyde Park would be happy to have additional students if there are students. It seems like the majority of the students or the residents would either be young professionals or older people that don't have children. It seems like the police and fire would be serviced from the city.
That was a mistake.
But it would also be nice to have more revenue to support our fire districts as well, which are just outrageous. But that's a different discussion. In conclusion, I also looked at some of the comprehensive plan updates. You did some interviews in the fall, and this project seemed to check a lot of those boxes of what people thought could be done to improve the quality of life in the town of Poughkeepsie, encourage vacant, abandoned property development over new greenfield development, reclaim brownfields development, have access to the waterfront, address presence of large number of vacant buildings throughout code enforcement by motivating property owners to reinvest. That's basically vacant or the buildings have been taken down. Establish and promote incentive programs for investment for previously distributed land over new greenfield development, evaluate retail trends for the town of Poughkeepsie and how changing retail climate may impact areas within the town. The fact that there's a lot of amenities that enhance the day-to-day life, whether it's a restaurant close by, a spa, a barber shop, living and doing your activities of daily living and having those services very close to you, I think is very attractive for either people who want to age in place or for young professionals who have very busy lives and need that convenience. So I really think as a town we need to consider different types of development, and this high-density development makes a lot of sense to me, especially with a piece of land that doesn't have any good use right now. And I would hate to see something like what happened to Casper Kill, where we didn't develop it, and then it went to a non-for-profit, and it's not on the tax roll. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Ma'am?
My name is Trish Prunty, and I worked as a fundraiser for Walkway Over the Hudson. When we saw this building starting north of the walkway, we were thrilled. That area has been an eyesore, dangerous. When visitors come, they haven't always felt safe. The whole Poughkeepsie side of the walkway development, not much has happened. There's derelict buildings and parking areas at the entrance. So to have this positive project, we were thrilled to see it. We feel it's a real quality of life issue. The walkway has talked about even adding stairs to the what is now the Central Hudson property, which would then allow access to this whole development where people could just walk basically across the street and be up on the walkway. And the walkway is now the #1 visited site in Dutchess County and in the Hudson Valley. So for the walkway, and I think for that whole neighborhood, it is such a positive development. They're doing a terrific job. It's attractive, and as they stated, the people that are coming there want to stay in the Hudson Valley. And I know I recently read about New York State losing population in a pretty serious manner. More projects like this, people will stay. People want to stay. It's just they get priced out and they don't have attractive places like this to live. So anyway, I'm speaking on behalf of the project, and I hope you'll give it all of your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Armstrong?
My name is Joe Armstrong. I want to discuss the property on Rivercrest Road. And if I'm allowed, I would like to give you a little background as to how we got to this position that we're in today. Years ago, the piece of property that is in question was sold to the town police department, and they were going to use it for target practice. And evidently the town would not allow them to do that for whatever reasons. So they sold it. And they sold it to one of the members that belonged to the Pirate Canoe Club, who was supposedly going to build a residence. He has since passed, and it didn't happen. So the property was sold by the family to the present owners. Last Wednesday, a week from today, I went down to the club and saw a person doing surveying on the road. Had red marks on the road all the way up to the apartment complex. And I asked him, what was he doing? Because it's a private road. And he claimed he was doing a survey for the railroad, for their elevation. Well, I immediately figured that was bogus because the railroad has no interest in our road whatsoever, as except maybe one of their trucks come down once in a while to go on the tracks and check it out. And evidently, I believe that's what it was. He was told to tell anyone that asked that it was for the railroad. I do not believe that to be true. You have to put up with me getting old. Sometimes I lose my train of thought. The road, that area is a pristine area for the wildlife. The other side of the road has a somewhat of a fence, which was the IBM's North 40 that they call it. The other side, going as far as the Poughkeepsie Cemetery, is loaded with wildlife. of all kinds. Anything you can think of except the bears, and maybe once in a while they may be there. But everything is down there. There are some swamp areas in that location. Not large, but they're there. There's drainage under our road. Our road is an old road. It's in good shape yet, but it's an old road. I fear that if they start to what they were talking about, there are going to be trucks up and down that road all the time. We have enough truck traffic coming down to pick up trash and deliver stuff and so forth, but for a system, a commercial thing like that is outrageous. I would not like to see that parcel changed for anything from what the original deed gave the rights to, and that was single family. It's going to, you start changing it to commercial, and it's not going to be long that there's a whole area is going to be ruined. The wildlife down there is abundant, and we hope it stays that way. I've got off track on what I had written down anyway, but give me a second, please. Let's see. Well, to be honest with you, I think I pretty much covered it. I summarized it pretty good, but I know a lot of you people knew what was down there before and what transpired. Some of you don't know how we got to where we got to. The Pirate Canoe Club is there because we were thrown out of the city by urban renewal, and we had nowhere to go. That was the closest place to have for our boating pleasure. And it took an awful lot to get to where we were today. Of course, for Miss Young, who saw and was very upset about urban renewal and what they did, and she helped the police department out by selling them that property at a real reasonable price. She helped us out, but we had to fight the railroad to prove we had a crossing to get on the other side. Then we had to go and buy a road all the way up to Route 9, okay, which we couldn't use because the state would not let us cut onto Route 9 because it was too close to the apartment road. So we had to let half that road set idle, run down the apartment road, and continue on our road. And we've been a good neighbor because there's nobody around us, so they don't hear us when we make a little noise. But what I'm getting at is this seems to be the start of ruining a pristine area, and there's not too many of them left. And I just think, I don't know if the survey, I don't even know if that was what they were doing with the survey. I wish I could have asked the person that was here. But water is already there. We paid for water lines from the apartments all the way down to our club. So there's going to be a lot of discussion as to what they can do with our road, our water line. They may have a right to use our road with a deed, I'm not sure. But I just hope that we look at this, really look at it hard. I'd hate to see this start to develop into a commercial area, because once it starts, I just am afraid of what's going to happen. I've been a member of that club for over 50 years, and we've never had a problem. Always were good neighbors, always took care of things, and I can see that nothing but going downhill from here. It's a damn shame. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tough to get old. I'm Jim Dworak, and I'm a member of the Pirate Canoe Club, and I have one quick question to ask you. In your deliberations, do you take in consideration that this is a self-created hazard problem?
What do you mean by self-created?
Pardon me?
What do you mean by self-created?
The owner knew what the property was when he bought it.
Yes.
And that's a self-created hardship. If you go in front of the ZBA, that's what's called self-created hardship. He knew the limitations of the property, knowing full well, and continued to purchase it.
This is the first discussion we've had with this in general.
Well,
so I don't think there's any decision made at all.
No, I'm not asking
point.
for a decision. I'm saying in the decision-making process, do you take in consideration, is this a self-created hardship? Like if this individual applied for a use variance, he would have to demonstrate it was not a self-created hardship. But the fact is he knew how it was zoned, and he went on anyway and purchased the property. It really is entitled to get it rezoned.
It will be looked at.
Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Hi, my name is Maras Mklefat. I'm a resident of the town of Poughkeepsie. I understand the board job is to look at the parking and if the roadway is 23 feet and 24 feet, but I'm asking you to step back and look at the big picture. We've been resident of the town of Poughkeepsie for the past 20 years. And you start, if you get off the I-84 and start driving up Route 9, the first thing you look at Fishkill, you see a vibrant city. They attract investors, they attract developers, they want people to come in. Hotels are coming in. Chipotle, all these restaurant chains are coming in because they're being welcomed. Then you start driving up to Wappingers, and all the business are renovating the buildings, the new development. When they renovate the building, it means that they believe that they're going to be there for a long time. Then you finish, then you come to the town of Poughkeepsie. The town of Poughkeepsie, then you start, let's take it from the South Hill Mall. You have a Kmart that's been sitting there and vacant for how many years? Then, I'm sure you all heard the news about Sears. Sears is moving out. Then the Tilted Kilt, then it was Bugaboo. Then you keep driving up. Then you don't know what's going on with that hotel across the street from the Bonefish. Keep going up. Then you go into, let me remember, Toys R Us is out of business. The hotel, the Econo Lodge Hotel is out of, I don't know what they're doing. There's something wrong here. Oh, I'm sorry, and I forgot the Staples. If we jump to the other side of the town of Poughkeepsie. Businesses are not coming here. They're looking at us at the town of Poughkeepsie and they say, there's something wrong here. The first thing I start looking at, which is kind of interesting, if anybody want to start business, they start looking at the growth, the population growth. Most of the statistics has been giving us almost 0% growth in population for the past couple of years. And the expected growth for the next 5 years is 0.08. It's not 0.8, 0.08. So I start questioning myself, just like, is this something wrong that we have the business mentality of relying on big businesses like IBM, Vassar, Marist, or should we start encouraging the small businesses to come in here? And it's something I'm asking the board to start looking at the big picture here, because the time of big businesses is going down. As I said, Sears is out. Kmart is out. Toys R Us is out. We need new tax base. You can say it's 80 apartment. What's the big deal? 80 apartment, if 2 people move in, that's 160. Our population is 44,000. Simple math is 0.3%. You know what? I'll take 0.3% over 0. These people are going to fund us. What's going to happen eventually? In 15 years when my kids, we have young children, when our children are ready to go to college, most of you will be retiring to Florida and will be moving out. Is that what we're giving our kids? No growth? I'm asking you to step back. Yeah, we can get diluted by the, as I said, it's 26 feet, 24 feet driving. Is it 156 parking spaces? Step back and look at the big picture. Please do. Because sometimes when you're too close, you cannot see it.
Sir, with all due respect, have you come to any other meeting in the town when we discussed that project?
I'm sorry, sir, it's irrelevant for me.
I'm asking a question.
What's relevant for me, sir?
I'm asking a question for a reason. Because we're trying to get the best project possible to go into that parcel of land.
I understand that.
Because each and every time the applicant came for us, the project wasn't quite up to speed yet. Okay? We have been working diligently so the town didn't take over a walkway that they wanted to put in that we never wanted to take care of.
Sir?
Okay? No. You're telling me businesses don't want to come here.
Is this a debate or you want me to express my opinion?
I'm
asking you, if this is going to become a debate, we'll change it. If you want to debate me, I'll start debate. But if you want the public to express their opinion, it's your job to listen to what I have to say.
You like the project now, but you may like it now only because this board kept pushing for a better project. That's what I'm telling you.
That's fine. And I said to you, as I stated before, if you want to debate the validity of the project, that's something totally different. If your objective is just to stand there and stick your claim to the argument, let's do that. But that's not the purpose of this meeting.
No, and I agree, it's not the purpose.
I just
The
asked you a
purpose
question.
of this,
No,
sir,
let me-
and I
sir.
don't like the fact
Sir.
that you
I
want to
just asked you a
come.
question.
Sir,
No.
both of you. The purpose of this meeting is to listen to the public's opinion to make
Exactly.
a call. This was a discussion, this was turned down years ago, this project. We have worked over the last couple of years through the prior Director of Development and Mr. Welty to bring this project back. So I think we are going in a positive step.
It's great.
And just to finish, the town is not in a negative. We have a very big development group going on. There's a lot of development going. And what you want to see is a lot of development. Some people don't want to see a lot of development. We have to get an equal medium. Some people want to see condensed development. Some people don't want to see that. We're redoing our master plan for that reason, to find out the parts of the town that we would like to have apartments and things. There are parts of town we like to keep the bigger space, like Peach Hill and those areas. So we are working together. We're redoing our master plan. Feel free on Wednesday nights, the fourth Wednesday of the month, to come to those meetings. And you can voice, because this is the perfect time. And this isn't a debate. It's a perfect time to go. And if you have comments on the master plan, our development plan, feel free to send them in, because
I'll be
we
more
would
than happy
love
to do that.
We would love
As I
public
said,
comment.
I don't like the fact when I try to express my opinion and the gentleman start questioning why my no, sir. It's your job to listen to me. It's my job to speak my mind.
You can do that. I'm
Okay,
asking,
so
you're
this is
talking about
not-
this one
this-
project, and I just asked you one question about this project. That's it. I asked you one question. Did you come to any other meeting? Because you're actually telling us that we didn't do a good enough job if we don't take this project.
No,
That's
sir, I'm
basically how
asking you to step
listening
back
to
and
you.
look at the big picture.
And we are looking at the big picture.
Jesus Christ, this is just
No,
like an
I
idiot.
asked you a simple question. You could say, yes, no, I did not, or yes, I did.
It's
That's
not,
it.
it's not your place to ask me a question.
I'm listening to you.
Mike,
No,
we're
it's
just
not.
here- We're here for public comment.
I
It is,
just
it's
wanna
called
listen
public comment,
and
so
just
it's your
take it.
job to listen to what I have to
Yes.
say.
Your
I don't have
job-
to raise my
your
voice.
job-
I'm very well.
No, you're not. You're not doing your job.
Sir,
I am
please,
listening to you.
both of you. You know, this is here for public comment. We want to hear the public. We're
Yeah,
not
but
here
the
to get
gentleman
an
sitting next to you questioning why my motivation, and
Would you
I
just-
resent that.
I know, but will you just please give us your public comment, and we'll get it.
And
I'm
his
not
job
here-
is
I'm not
to
here for a debate.
have the 2 ears to listen to the person who's
Yeah,
sitting here
but he-
on the mic, because I have the mic.
But he also has, when you're done, a chance to rebut. If you want to take it on the side, that's fine. We're not here for a public debate forum. We're here to listen and take comment on deciding what we're going to do with this project.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Doreen?
Yes, it is very easy, I think, to sit here when you haven't, for the past 10 years, listened to prior meetings, town board meetings, planning board meetings about the Dutton project. For example, I heard Mr. Finbar O'Neill say that they will consider paying rec fees. Consider? Have rec fees been somehow taken out of the town law that I don't know about? I mean, so to say he would consider, do you know how many times over the last, how long have they been here? 10 years maybe, tried to get out of paying rec fees? We hear about the trail. Oh, the city's going to take care of the trail. Do you know how many stories there have been on who was going to take care of the trail, who was going to pay for it, who was going to maintain it? Oh my God, I don't have all my notes here with me. I mean, I can give you probably 20 different scenarios about what was going to happen as far as rec fees and trails. And then they say, oh, it's no impact to the Fairview Fire District because the city's going to be first responders. That portion of the town, of the building is in the town of Poughkeepsie and it's served by the Fairview Fire District. They even referenced the height of the Fairview ladder truck, for access. Yet they say it's going to come from the city. Won't be any problem to the town police? They're not going to respond to that either. You know, I mean, some of these statements are just ridiculous. And then we hear about tax revenue. Do you know how many times over the last 10, 20 years I've sat here before at town board meetings and planning board meetings, and you hear people say, oh, this is going to be, $100 million project and we're going to bring in X amount of dollars in revenue. And then what happens? Year after year after year, they put in a tax cert and they keep asking for the assessment to go down, which means less and less revenue. So, like I said, it's easy to sit here and say what should be done and and, that there's no development in the town. Oh, my God, if you look at the planning board agendas, like, for the last 20 years, I mean, this is just crazy. It really is. Anyway, and I also feel that we need affordable housing in the town. We do need more apartments. I've been trying to help somebody I know get an apartment. I don't know, maybe everybody is wealthy. Not everybody can afford to pay $1,000 or more for an apartment each month. I mean, that's really a problem. So we hear about attracting young professionals who want to move here so then they can commute to the city. What about the people that are already here and need affordable housing? So, again, I think as far as 1 Dutchess Avenue, the Dutton project, there's been concerns about rec fees in the past. There's been concerns, about trails. The story has changed so many times on so many different aspects over the years that, I would have a hard time believing anything that's said here tonight. And I know they brought a lawsuit against the town, which, as far as I know, they lost. So, again, I would just be very careful as you go ahead and consider this project. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the Rivercrest Road project. And one of my concerns is the fact that they cut down trees without a tree removal permit that was needed under Chapter 187. And also, they violated Chapter 97, erosion and sediment control. Now, I know that somewhere along the way, I shouldn't say I know, I heard that they were fined, but if they were fined, potentially they were fined under Chapter 97. I don't know that they were fined or made to pay any penalty under Chapter 187 of the tree preservation law. And a tree removal permit was required because they were in the waterfront district. And that's per 187. 187 has penalties for offenses that include fines of not more than $1,000, but each tree cut or removed can be considered a separate offense. So how much was the fine? Then also under Chapter 187.15 for penalties, it says in addition, they could have ordered the violator to replace any or all trees cut or removed illegally, and with a size and type selected by the Director of Municipal Development. So my concern is they went in and it was much easier for them just to clear the trees than to go through the process and potentially, maybe not have their initial request granted, but so instead they just went in and cleared the site, and they took down quite a few trees. Stop work order was issued. The stop work order was taken down. I have through FOIL, I have all that information. So Wayne Sishon from the building department issued stop work order. They continued to cut more trees. The stop work order was taken down. So, again, there has to be a penalty associated with breaking the law in the town. So again, as you consider this, I'd like to see them, and you can't say, well, we'll leave it up to the planning board. I mean, you really can't, because this is, the rezoning is up to you. If you're taking this seriously about the tree removal and conformance to town code, well, then I think that really is a function of the town board, not of the planning board. So, I ask you to use this project sort of as, or to view it as something where you're going to put laws in place, they're going to be followed, and if not, there's going to be penalties. And you can't just, think that, hey, if you're a developer, you're going to come in, you're going to do what you want, and maybe there'll be very little, consequences, and well, maybe we'll get through the planning board anyway. So, there's two other things quickly I told you. The Central Hudson cleanup, Jay touched on that briefly. I was also at the water board meeting yesterday, and I really think it was, Central Hudson was derelict in not notifying the town and the water plant operators that there was a problem. Central Hudson, it seems like they're saying that maybe that really wasn't caused by them. The sheen on the river that was tested and ended up containing pyrene, which is associated with coal tar, which is what the cleanup is all about. So that, that whole situation really was not handled well. And Riverkeeper was active in the process, and like Jay said, now they're supposed to be taking a more proactive stance on that. But I think really it was unfortunate that the water plant operator didn't know about that, because that's where we get our drinking water
Correct,
from.
DEC on down. They
Yeah.
weren't even notified to notify us. I mean,
Yeah, and also the DEC, right. I'm not exactly sure when the sequence was of when DEC knew about it, but it definitely sounded like Riverkeeper was the one that notified the water plant operators. And so, to me, Central Hudson and/or the DEC should have notified the plant. So, and also, just one more thing about the water board. We know that the town hired special counsel to deal with the city regarding the operation of the joint water plant. And at a special meeting in October, City Mayor Rollison made a comment about that he was surprised at that the town had filed a $1 million notice of claim against the city regarding operation of the water plant. And at subsequent meetings, Mr. Nelson from the city then made it sound like, well, there really weren't, some of the issues that had been a concern before really weren't a concern now, because they were very close to settling some issues. So I haven't heard anything about that. So I'd like to know what's going on, and in light of the fact that some things at the water board meetings seem still to be like water revenue, the reconciliation. There's a lot of things that seem to be still in dispute. And, at the water board meetings, public comment is taken, but there's no back and forth. They don't answer any questions. And we also found out at yesterday's meeting that the annual update document that's required to be filed with the New York State Comptroller's Office under Section 30 of General Municipal Law has been prepared for the last several years, and the town hasn't even gotten a copy of that annual update document. And yet the joint water board is half city, half town. The plant is half city, half town. And they've been filing these annual update documents without the town knowing what were in those documents. So this is all of concern, and, I'd like to know what extent you can tell me and tell town residents what's going on.
as you know, we're doing a flow study, and once the flow study is done is when we should be able to decide one of our biggest arguments over the third-party sales. And that study should be done in 3 months, and at that point, we should know where that is. Some of the other issues brought up last night that were in the audit are issues that we don't agree with. So we're going to go through that and discuss with the auditors. Some of the comments the city made in there, we feel the audit was done in one direction, so that's why they gave it back to the auditor last night and told them we weren't happy with the results from the audit.
So, okay, and what's the status of the notice of claim then? How does that?
We've had a few meetings with the city and directed on, as you know, Doreen, from years back, the commingling and so on and so forth, where we think we've got to straighten down the procedure till we're done with the study, to at least get us through this study. So we know where the money is, where the money's going, because the hardest thing was the third-party sales never seemed to be directly put in the way we thought they should have been put in. The argument was the city thought it was theirs because they were the ones that were selling the water at the time. We thought it was supposed to be put into the budget. So that's been one of our main disagreements, as you know, all along on that. So we're trying to work through those with council to try to get it in a direct, more definitive way so we know exactly where the money is coming and going. It's always been an issue because, as you know, it's not its own separate entity, so the money all flows through the city accounts. And we were never happy with the way it went when the third-party sales came in. So we're trying to get that all directed in the right place so we can follow the money, follow the trail, follow the bills, because they do all of it. And the other thing is the amount of money we pay according to the IMA, the percent that we pay for the accounting fees, that we're not happy with that number over the years, that number has grown because it grows with the volume of water. So in the same time, we're looking at, I think, Mr. Carlos, prior to me being on the board, he worked with a couple of the other members on a new IMA, so we're still working through that and getting back into that. You know, we have to get that back up and running because, as you know, they've tried to push it off a couple of times, so that's why we pushed the flow study. And the flow study should be done in 90 days, and that'll give us a more definitive answer of what our actual projected use is for now and for the next 5 years out.
All right, well, my concern is that the fact that, I thought it was a good thing as far as, potentially taking legal action against them because of, how long it's taken over the years and didn't seem to be making any progress. But from what Mr. Nelson said, he made it sound like there wasn't going to be any need for legal action, and I am concerned about that. But
you're not alone.
Dorian, respect to the AUDs, I was the secretary for the last 2 years of the Water Board. My responsibility is to check the documents, and we file the documents correctly. I was never given by the city a copy of the AUD. It should have been done regularly. It wasn't done. I called the controller's office today. So I'll do what I have to do to make sure that that gets corrected.
The state comptroller or the city?
State controller.
Okay.
Okay? We had an audit from them in 2014. There are things that should have been done and covered by that audit. Clearly, it's not. I had a conversation with them today. With respect to the city and the problem with the city, I have to be very careful what I say because there is a notice of claim which is in pending court action. This problem is not something that's new. It's been something that's been going on. And it's not a paperwork problem, and it's not an error in the way things are reported. It's much more than that. And I think if we don't get the correct remediation done by the city, i.e. make the town whole, then it's going to go into court. Going into court, municipality, anybody, it's not something you do lightly because you can never tell what the reaction of the court will be. So I want to push this as clearly and as far as we can to resolve it and not take the risk. On the other side, there comes a time when you lay that aside and you go into court and you make it happen. So we're pretty close to the go into court and make it happen. Hopefully the city will understand the resolve that's out here. And I don't think there's a board member sitting here that would say that's not a strong possibility. I'm sorry I can't answer your question more than that. It's the fact that there's a notice of claim, which is a pending case, and I've got to be really careful what I say. I would love the opportunity to say everything that I know. I can't do that right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dorian. Anybody else?
Hello. Good evening. My name is Josh Stratton. I'm the Hudson River Rowing Association president, and I'm here on behalf of the rowing community and to speak about the exciting projects going on down at the riverfront. I began rowing in the early 90s, and there were 3 high schools in this area, and now there are 7 high schools that row. And 12 years ago, a boathouse was built on Vassar's property in between the old Dutton site and Marist College. And that boathouse now serves 7 high schools and 2 adult rowing clubs. So there's probably about 500 people that row out of that facility on an annual basis. There's a crime issue down there. Not serious crime yet. Slash tires and some donuts, and I've called the town police personally at least a dozen times, and the town police are the best. They come down. I apologize for calling them so often, but it's basically like an unpatrolled area. I mean, they patrol now more than they used to, I think because of me. Vassar College has come down with their security whenever I call. I call when, kids are down smoking marijuana, and we are we're on the water with teenage kids rowing and trying to, improve their athletic endeavors. And there might be somebody up doing donuts, or there might be a group of people that drive their ATVs down, their four-wheelers and their three-wheelers down. And I've confronted those gentlemen in person, and it might not have been a smart thing, but call the police and tell them to get off the land. It's Vassar's land. I believe I went to we speak of the coal tar, on the bottom of the river, and I spoke with some Vassar College people at a Central Hudson hosted meeting last summer, and one of the ladies from Vassar had a great point. She said, if you add a good element down there at the riverfront, and you continuously improve upon that, it'll help to discourage the people that are down there possibly breaking the law or doing nefarious acts. And I have to chain a gate at night because people will come down there, and it's like a free-for-all party. Vassar College actually hires a landscaping crew every Monday in the summertime to come clean up all the garbage after the weekend. So I welcome the One Dutchess project for the health of the community down there, the rowing community. Yes, they must abide by building code, and they have to abide by what is proper to install in the town. I agree with that. But I look at those buildings being built on the old Dutton site, and I'm just excited. I coach at Marist College. I coach for the Rowing Association. I've been on that water since 1994, and we used to stay away from Dutton lumber because we could smell the fumes from the wood being processed, and we used to stay away from where the coal tar bubbles up in the summertime. I guess the sediment heats up and the coal tar bubbles up and it stinks. And yeah, I get headaches pretty easy, and it's a pungent smell, and I'm excited for these different things to clean up that area and improve upon it. So I'm a proponent. I concur with the economic development issue of the town. That's great it's a potential to add a tax base. That's great. Standards need to be met, and I have the benefit of coming back to the rowing community here locally in 2015, and all these exciting things are being done, like the boathouse was built, and I just go and start coaching and rowing out of it, and that was done by people prior to me. So the work that you've done over 10 years with the developer and the process that you've gone through to improve upon, the plans, I commend everyone for that. So both the developer and the board. So I welcome good community activity down there. I welcome the Greenway Trail. I think that'll be a positive thing. And all the different area high schools that come down there, you name it, the high schools there, Arlington, Spackenkill, FDR, Poughkeepsie, both Wappinger schools are at a club, Rhinebeck. I think I'm missing one, but they'll have to forgive me. But I commend the project, and I hope it goes through, and I hope it goes through with the proper board approval and all the zoning laws being followed. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sir?
Good evening. My name is Jeff Anzavino, Director of Land Use Advocacy for Scenic Hudson. And I share many people's excitement for the prospect of the development at the One Dutchess Avenue site. We see what's going on in the city. We view that as positive. I concur with what I heard from Trish from the walkway. When I'm up on the walkway and I look down, I see now, instead of abandoned buildings and a vacant site, we see activity. Soon there'll be people living on the city side, and we view this as quite positive. Our highest priority for that site is that the trail is complete through both the city and the town portion, so it can connect to the Greenway Trail at the Rowing Association, and then up through Marist College, and hopefully at some point all the way up to Hyde Park. As you may know that we're working with the city of Poughkeepsie to complete the trail from Warriors Park south around Cow Rock to the Shadows Grandview development down at the southern end of the city of Poughkeepsie. The walkway over the Hudson is the centerpiece or the keystone in some ways, at least from our perspective here in Poughkeepsie, of the Empire State Trail that Governor Cuomo has laid out that will run from New York City up to Albany, up to Canadian border, and then out to Buffalo. So this project is at the sort of the crossroads of the city's waterfront greenway trail that hopefully will extend through the town to the north and the Empire State Trail, and that will be a huge selling point for the people that will be looking to live in the apartments in both the city and the town's portion of that site. We appreciate that Finn and Lou called us and shared the plan with us. And we went and took a tour, and we saw the inside of the apartments, and they're certainly beautiful inside. It may not be the way Scenic Hudson would develop the site. I think that we'd probably do a few things a little bit differently to have it relate better to the river. But we're not here to nitpick those types of things. That said, we'd love to continue the dialogue with the O'Neill Group and Mike Welty or whoever is appropriate. We have some suggestions that I'd consider rather minor about the placement of buildings. One thing that I heard today is 25% of the people that are interested are people that might be working out of town and walking to the train station. We noticed that from the approved seeker plan several years ago to now, there was once 40 parking places there. Now there's 156, and that's a big increase in parking. And maybe there doesn't need to be quite so many parking spaces there, given its proximity to the train station. And one of the other things is the location of some of the buildings. But we just like to speak to the developer about that, and I'm sure they'd be open to it. We characterize these as rather minor. They're not huge concerns by us. We really want to see that waterfront trail and the park be built, and that's really all I have to say, except thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you. And you can pass your concerns also on to Mr. Welty there.
Okay.
And you can pass them on.
Great. He's a great planner, and I've known him for a long time, and I'd be happy to do that.
We're happy to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else like to speak? If not, motion to resume the rules. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Jeff?
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider the following: to discuss matters which are exempt under open meeting law, including matters subject to the attorney-client privilege. So moved.
Second. Second, town board goes in executive session, 8:23 PM. Thanks, everybody, for attending.